All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters with Ken and Shar. I'm Ken. She's Shar. How you doing today, babe?
Well, I feel like I haven't been here in forever.
I know. It's been a long time, hasn't
It has
it?
been. You've been doing the interviews with Josh, and
Yeah.
we've gotten a lot of great feedback.
I think that
from
was
those.
really
I
good.
do too. I really appreciate him
Yeah.
taking the time to share his story.
Yeah. What we're talking about is, if you haven't heard the last two episodes, it was an interview with Josh Shirley. Go back and listen to them. I think they were just so encouraging. God's healing, redeeming grace and love after a sexual sin impacts a marriage. That's what we were talking about. And just so encouraging.
Well, the Lord doesn't waste anything,
No,
does he?
even our failures, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yep.
We've been visiting with watching our 3 kids.
Yes.
In Valencia.
3 of our grandkids that are in Valencia. Yeah.
Our kids, our daughter and son-in-law went on a trip.
Yep.
So we're having so much fun with them.
So it's so fun because these aren't babies.
No.
These are a senior in high school, a sophomore in high school, and a 7th grader. And we are having an absolute blast.
It's so nice because you don't have to do much for them, but play games and say, okay, go to bed now.
That's it.
It's really fun.
So we're taking a little break in the action with them to record another episode. This is the 5th episode of a series called God, Marriage, and Sex. And the first 2 episodes were just getting a good biblical, I think, some theological groundwork for our sexuality. The next 2 episodes were that interview with Josh, and here we are in episode 5.
Wow.
And we're turning a bit of a corner. Now we're going to start looking at some of the really direct verses or passages in the Bible about marital intimacy, right? If you look, a lot of it is really negative, really prohibitive, what not to do, passages that speak to issues of adultery and what the Bible calls porneia, sexual immorality, fornication. But sprinkled in here are some wonderful verses that help us understand the upside of what God has created and how it's to function in the life of a married couple.
Some wisdom. I feel like these are wisdom verses for us that desire to have a healthy sexual life.
Right.
I think that everyone that's listening desires that.
We hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
So what we're going to do, these first verses, we're out of 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. We'll take them in a couple bites, verses 1 and 2, and then verses 3, 4, and 5. So a little bit of a heads up. This isn't a deep dive.
No.
Look, there's books written on 1 Corinthians 7, which is really all about our human sexuality and how it's to operate and how God created it. But we're just taking the first 5 verses here, and we're going to work our way down through them just very generally. Right. Yeah? And hopefully take away some nuggets that will really encourage us. All right?
I'm excited.
Okay. So what's happening? Paul is writing this letter in response to a letter he had received from the Corinthian believers. These are new people to a walk with Jesus. They came straight out of paganism and a lot of weird religion and occultish stuff. And so they had a lot of questions about what a real Christian was, how a Christian lives in this world. And clearly, because sexuality takes such a front and center place in all of our lives as sexual creatures, that they had questions about, okay, now as a Christian, and evidently by the way that the first verse of 1 Corinthians 7 is worded, it appears they thought, okay, so celibacy is the Christian way of life, right? That if we really want to glorify God and walk with the Lord, then the celibate life is for me, right? And so Paul's responding to this, and he says this, verses 1 and 2 of chapter 7, 1 Corinthians. Now, concerning the things of which you wrote me, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. Now, okay, let's underline that. Put a stop there. I'm really glad he didn't end his thought there.
I bet you are.
Yeah. So he says it's good for a man not to touch a woman. So he's validating that celibate life. And then he goes on to say, nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man, and I want to kind of underscore that, have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Great verses, right?
Yep.
Okay, so he's validating, and Paul actually had a pretty high view of a celibate life. He lived that life, but he does go on down in 1 Corinthians 7, if you look at verse 7, and he says, having said that, this is a special grace on someone's life. This is not normal. This is not the call of every Christian. It doesn't glorify God any more to live a celibate life than it does to live a robust, wonderful, enjoyable, rich sexual life with a husband and wife.
And then all the Christians would die out.
You
That's what I think when I read it.
I mean,
okay, well, if we were all celibate.
Not a great way to grow your church, is it?
No, not at all.
Okay, so while he validates celibacy, he's now going to move directly into married life and particularly intimacy within a married life. And he says, nevertheless, that's a big word. He says, while I endorse that celibacy stuff, but it does take a special gift from God, a special grace of God on your life to live a joyful life, celibate. He says, because of sexual immorality, and that kind of sets up his thought. The rest of these verses have to do with Paul trying to explain the wonders and the beauty of what God has created here, because as one man put it, sexual intimacy in a married couple is like a dam that holds back this otherwise raging flood of sexual perversion and brokenness that would occur. So he creates sex within marriage. One of the reasons, it's not the only reason, certainly, and probably not the highest reason, but it is a reason that God created sex and sexual desire was, and marriage in the context of sex, to hold back just a flood of wickedness.
Well, I just look at it as a safeguard. When you have a healthy sexual relationship within your marriage, it just safeguards sexual immorality.
Absolutely.
You're not going to go there.
Yep.
And I love that God knows that we're broken. He knows where we're weak.
Right.
And he knows what we're tempted with.
Right.
And so he's provided an answer for
that.
Right on.
Well, it's the solution to a lot of sexual sin in the world is a robust, enjoyable, rich and full sexual life between husband and wife. That's what he's saying there, particularly in verses 1 and 2. Right. Now, when, in verse 2, too, I want to just kind of I got stuck on this language too, man. Each one, let each man, each woman, very pointed and very
personal.
You bet. And in that, I see three things. Three things to me percolate to the top of that. Number one, it speaks of an exclusivity. Each one has his own wife, not his own girlfriend, not his own temporary partner, right? So it's very exclusive. What he's talking about here is sex within marriage.
Right.
That's the solution to rampant sexual brokenness in the world. It speaks not of exclusivity, but responsibility. Each man, each woman is responsible to have, that's a euphemism for sex within marriage, is to be responsible to have sexual intimacy with their partner. So the responsibility, he's going to bring that up again a little bit later. And then thirdly, it speaks of that language, it kind of touched my heart about a dedicated focus to have this part of our life healthy and working awesome, right, between us. And
well, it's a huge part of our life, and it's a huge part of married life. And I don't think people realize what a big part it is until they get married, and they might not be seeing eye to eye on things.
Well, let's personalize this. You and I, we were married at 19. And did you ever in your wildest dreams think it would be as complicated as it became?
I guess I thought it just would be wonderful and easy.
I know.
And I had not had sexual experience before we were married. So I just thought, oh, well, it's going to be great.
It'll be awesome.
We love each other.
We love each other. Yep.
We love each other.
Conquers.
We're going to be on the same page. We've got all these hormones that are going crazy, and it's just going to be wonderful.
Right.
And it was wonderful.
Well, and we found out it became complicated.
Well, because we're not the same
No,
people. We have
different.
different appetites
Right,
and
right.
different perspectives
Yep,
because of, male and female.
you
Just
bet.
2 different people.
Different desires, different needs.
Right. Right.
Uh, it's really interesting how complicated, and with us, I think we can freely share that it did get
It
complicated.
did.
We had how many teary nights did we have trying to resolve historically what happens, by the way, I think just so that we kinda all can agree, commonly, I think in many
Mhm.
marriages is one person feels neglected
Mhm.
and rejected,
Mhm. And
and the other
unloved. Uh-huh.
and unloved, right.
Mhm.
The other person feels what?
Pressure.
Pressured all the time, like,
Mhm.
"This is all you love me for,"
Mhm.
right? This is and the
And it's never
pushy.
enough.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right,
Pushy.
right,
Uh-huh.
right, right,
And it is about the same percentage of male and female. It's
that's why
not.
I didn't wanna overgeneralize that and say men always feel this and women it
No.
does, it can go both ways,
It
but
is.
what it leads to is somebody feeling isolated, rejected, neglected, the other one feeling pressured all
Mhm.
the time and almost used, right, that way, like, "This is all you love me for." And so this really is a complicated thing, and
Right.
and and I think let's let the cat out of the bag early. I think if you don't get anything else from this episode, it really is the amount of communication this
Mhm.
takes to be on this journey to succeed to creating a really rich and full,
Right.
mutually satisfying sexual life together takes a lot of work, a lot of grace for each other, a lot of understanding, a lot of care for each
And a
other,
lot of humility.
and a lot of humility and a lot
Mhm.
of conversation.
And a lot of conversation.
Often teary
Mhm.
and
And embarrassing at
and
times
difficult, you
and
bet,
difficult.
you bet. So that each one to me
Yeah.
really
I
stood
like that.
out. Again, it speaks of, again, how exclusively responsible
Mhm.
we each must be with this part of our married life, and it does require a dedicated focus. So then he busts into verse 3, 4, and 5. Now, to me, these get really interesting, and there's little nuggets all through here. We're gonna boil the things that this discusses down to probably 3,
Uh-huh.
kinda truth bombs that are
Right, right.
discussed here. So it reads like this, 1 Corinthians 7, 3, 4, and 5 say, "Let the husband render then to his wife." Now remember, he just got through saying, "Nevertheless, because of the danger of rampant sexual sin, let each man have his wife, each wife have her own husband." And then he kind of reestablishes, "Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband.
Mhm.
The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive or withhold one another except for consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and then come together again so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self control."
Mhm.
Now, just this one's for free. Those last words are really revealing. Satan loves to assault
Mhm.
this part of a married life
When it's not
and
healthy.
this part of
When
humanity.
when it's being withheld,
Right.
I feel.
Right, well, specifically
Mhm.
speaking of that,
It is.
sure,
Mhm.
but it just tells you that this is an area that is not without battle, it's not without spiritual warfare.
Right.
There's that kinda enters the picture here. That's if we don't get anything else from just that statement is this can be difficult. This is not a walk in the park here.
Well,
Satan hates a
right.
couple
Yes.
that lives in unity like this and has a rich joyful, intimate life that's glorifying God and unifying them. He hates it, and he will attempt to shipwreck this beautiful thing that God
Well,
has created.
I think because this part of a marriage is very unique and special, and it's large. It's a large part of your marriage, whether you want to agree with it or not. This is huge. And if you don't have a working together relationship in your the sexual arena of your
Right,
marriage,
right,
you are open to a lot of assault from the enemy
right.
on your appetite, your emotions.
Yeah,
You could get really messed up
yeah.
with this area
And it's
if
not
it's
just
not a good.
seduction,
No,
it's also anger,
it is.
bitterness,
Mhm.
resentment. there's just many ways that Satan
Yes.
can really shipwreck this
Exactly right.
arena of married life.
And quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Okay, so I want to say too, another little caveat here before I get into these three things that are discussed in verses 3 through 5. You can tell in verse 2 that the view we're to have here is, as he's talking about our sexual life with our husbands or wives, is that we are givers, not takers, receivers. He speaks of all of it is this is how to give to your spouse sexually,
right,
so that you live in a rich, enjoyable marital life. In verse 3 here, he gets into render to the wife. So this is about giving to one another. And it just is a simple question to ask at this point is when it comes to marital lovemaking, are you a giver or a taker?
Well, you can ask your spouse.
That's a big, well, okay, there's a dangerous, yeah, but
It's true. If you
well
want to
said.
know
You bet.
how the other one's perspective is,
Right.
you can ask them.
Because if you're a taker and you're approaching your intimate life as a taker and a receiver only, then the whole thing is going to break down. Right.
Exactly right.
When two people both approach it, what can I give you to enrich this part of your life and our life together? And the other one's doing the same thing. This is what I think Paul is talking about here. This is what makes a really successful, enjoyable sexual life within a couple is being givers.
And I want to point out that it's very personal. It's to your husband, to your wife. And when I look at this verse through the years that I've been married, I have a husband. He's not anyone else's husband. He's mine.
Well, that's a good point.
I have this one man who is unlike any other man. And I have to know about my husband.
Right.
And it doesn't help me if I know about your husband.
Right.
This is my husband I'm talking about. And
Right.
I'm responsible for my husband to make sure he feels loved.
Right.
To make sure that as his wife, I am giving to him.
Right.
So he understands how much I love him and how much I care for him. And it is my responsibility. The same goes for a man to a woman, but I'm not the husband, so I can't really speak to that.
Exactly.
All I can speak to is what I am, a wife.
Right.
I'm a wife to one man.
Right.
And it is my ultimate ministry in life to make sure that I am the wife that he needs.
Well, I love hearing that, gang.
You do. Not that I've always done it correctly, that's for sure. But in my heart, that's, I think, what we need to have as a husband or a wife, knowing your husband or wife, really knowing them, not just what you think you know about them, what you know about them. And then you render that to them.
Right.
And you give that to them.
Right. I love too that he talked about due affection.
I know.
It didn't just talk about the act of marriage or the act of sex, but a due affection. It includes that. It's a euphemism for having sex, but it's a due affection. I read something recently where a man said that, look, a man must first touch his wife's mind and heart before he ever touches her body, right? If all he's after is touching the body, then there's something so missing in the affection that otherwise can be given to one another in such a rich way. And lovemaking is part of it, right? Okay, so here we go. Verses 3 through 5, there are three things discussed. Number one, duty. The nature, there is a dutiful nature to this, and I know people will disagree with us, but
I feel like the word should be responsibility more than duty.
Okay.
Because I feel like men take this word, mostly men, mostly, and say it's your duty.
Well,
I mean, they don't say because you love me or because of us or whatever. It's like your duty. You cannot deprive me.
Right.
And I heard men say that. And it makes
I would never suggest a man play that card.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't go very far.
Right. No.
But I think responsibility is a good word to me. It is my responsibility.
We each have, and it's mutual.
Right.
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 To render due affection
it is.
to one another.
And what that due affection looks like is individual and unique for each person.
Well, and it's a lifetime of exploring that.
It is.
I mean, I'm still learning, and we are still learning about each other, what that looks like, that really blesses them and really turns their crank, and that's something that, a lifetime of
Well,
discovery.
because it's a lifetime of change.
Right.
Your intimate life, our intimate life doesn't look like it did when we first got married
No.
almost 50 years ago.
No, it changed the minute a baby came.
Right. And it
And then
just
a second baby, and then a third baby, and then
and
job stuff and mortgage payments
and then
and
menopause, and
yeah,
then, it just is it's seasonal.
right.
And then you're in a different season. You wake up and find yourself in a different season
Boy, that is so
over
true.
and over and
Yeah,
over again. And everything we thought we knew, we have to chuck out the window
right,
and start new.
right,
Okay, this season, this is what this is going to look like.
right,
You might go through health things.
right,
You might, pregnancy and, breastfeeding and things change.
right,
And nobody really wants to think about that when they first get married. They just think it's going to be this wonderful, glorious thing that it's going to be easy and wonderful, and it's always will be easy and wonderful.
right,
Well, that's not real life.
right. So embodied in these 3 verses, verses 3, 4, and 5,
Mhm.
is the idea, whether you call it responsibility
Mhm.
or duty,
Mhm.
you call it what you want,
Mhm.
but it's important for every married man and every married woman to take on this idea that as a giver, how can I give
Mhm.
the highest pleasure
Mhm.
to my spouse in this regard so that we enjoy a rich and robust sexual life that God created us to have.
And that's satisfying for both
Right.
people.
But when one becomes a taker,
Mhm.
I'm telling you what, it can fall apart really, really quick.
I just want to add that there could be seasons in your life that you are being a taker by not giving into the sexual
By not being a giver.
by not being a giver in the sexual sense.
Yeah, explain that. Let's
Well, women change.
mhm.
And I know a lot of women that are much younger than me that have looked at their husbands and said, I'm done. I'm just done. I don't think this is a part of your life that you can just say it's over.
Mm.
Now, it changes, definitely. And I know that there's physical changes, but that means you have to go back and reinvent the wheel.
Well,
Things
yeah.
have to change. And but it isn't I don't think it's ever fair for one person to say, "I am done with this part of my
Well,
life."
and we have heard that.
Many
We've
times.
heard it. And, okay, I think there's a difference, don't you, babe? Someone that again, there's physical pain involved
Totally, I
or,
agree. Yes, yes.
um, things like that,
Totally,
particularly with age as our bodies change,
totally.
or a man can't,
Right.
right? So they do have to find creative ways,
Yes.
so we're not talking about that. We're talking
No.
about someone who's just either has never enjoyed it or
Mhm.
doesn't, and so they just in their 50s or 60s or somewhat where there's still a lot of living left to do, just says, "I'm done with this part of our life. You're gonna have to deal with it."
Now, if your spouse says fine, then, if both of you are in
Mm.
agreement, I guess that's okay, but normally, one person probably
Yeah,
isn't
they're not ready to yeah,
they're not
right.
ready to
Give up
shut it
that
all
part
down
of life, yeah,
in their 50s.
right.
And,
That's interesting.
and I just think that you can never look at it
Well, you're right, and
with
we have
those
heard that.
eyes.
We've had
Many times.
couples
I have heard that many
do
times.
that. Yeah.
And probably it's usually because of one spouse always taking and
Yeah, there's problems with that
yes,
scenario, that brought someone to that,
right.
but the reality is, this is a gentle and loving reminder that, again, there, is a responsibility,
Yeah.
a duty here involved, and again, remember why he's writing this,
Right. That's the thing.
to protect from
Yes, to protect from.
sexual sin, right? So, it's really important that we each take that
I
on.
mean, we could take that topic alone and do
Oh,
3 podcasts, but I think that everybody understands what we're saying.
yeah.
You just don't wanna open up your spouse to
Challenges
challenges they're not ready
yeah,
to
yeah,
take on.
agreed.
Mhm.
So in these verses, 3, 4, 5, this issue of personal responsibility, to be a giver, remain a giver, and contribute to this part of our married life. Number 2, Power and authority is discussed there as well in verse 4. Look at that verse. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Husband doesn't have authority over his body, but the wife does. So it answers the question. This is the question. So who's got authority in sexual matters in a married life? Answer, neither one. Neither one. It is a mutual giving of yourselves that is an act of such grace and love and tenderness, right? Now, I think one of the things we've talked about this that he's getting at here is to say that I never have authority over my own body, no matter what's going on, and no matter how complicated it might be getting or how difficult, if one isn't rendering due affection or whatever, I never have the authority to take my body elsewhere.
Right.
That's clearly one of the things he's dealing is when he talks about this, is work it out.
Right.
Keep communicating, keep intentionally calling on the Lord and work this part of your life out, because in the end, I never have the authority to take my body somewhere else and give it to another. Neither does a wife ever have that authority.
Right.
So he's probably speaking primarily here to the issue of adultery.
Well, and this also safeguards against sexual
Again, here
sin.
we are again.
We're back in the
Which is the
safeguard.
big idea.
That is the big idea about these verses.
Right. I mean, he did it with even premarital couples. In verse 2 where he said, let nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife and every wife her own husband. He didn't say boyfriend and girlfriend. So he's clearly putting parameters and guidelines and kind of hedging in how God created this arena to operate. And it isn't, look, the bottom line from verses 2 and 3 particularly, for the Christian, premarital sex is not a viable option.
Right. Well, it's sexual sin.
Right? So, because it's to be with a wife and a wife with her husband. Same as here, the body, I don't have authority over it to take it where I want, when I want, with who I want. He's actually, again, creating those boundaries within the marriage to create a sanctioned relationship there, right? Okay, interesting. So he's dealt with, here in verses 3, 4, and 5, he's dealt with or discussed responsibility. He's discussed power and authority. And lastly, he discusses frequency. He's going to deal with the issue of frequency. Listen to verse 5. Do not deprive one another except with consent, both a mutual agreement for only a time, a segment of time, that you may give yourselves into fasting and prayer and come together again so that Satan does not tempt you. So
I don't think I've ever known a couple that says we are not going to enjoy our sexual life because we're fasting and
there's a lot of things I will fast and pray before. Okay, so frequency, and we're going to end with this thought, right? We're running out of time, but it's a big question, right? I mean, we can't even imagine how many times we've been asked, okay, in the middle of some group, we're in a marital group or something, somebody says, okay, time out. How many times per month is normal, or what they want to say is, can I expect, right?
Can I
count on?
Can I make it her duty?
Right.
Or his duty?
Or his, yeah. And we understand that, right? Again, I told you the typical arena or scenario is someone's feeling neglected or rejected all the time, and one's feeling used. And it lends itself to somebody going, what? I just want to know what the score is, man. I want to know. And there is not a verse that's going to give us that. We can't turn to page 327 in any Bible, and it's going to tell us, okay, when you're 48 years old, expect this many times per month. This is the minimum, right? It's not going to do that.
Well, this is what I like to do is I need to know what's a long period of time for you.
And
you need to know what's a long period of time for me.
That's what he is advocating. Now, what we do know is that we are not to press our spouse beyond a long period of time, to withhold over a long period of time. again, that puts them it can put the marriage in a dangerous situation. This has been his whole point
Well, it's
all
just
along.
temptation.
Sure,
You don't wanna put him into
sure.
temptation. Now
And it's not just seduction,
no.
sexual seduction,
Right.
temptation. It's anger, it's frustration, it's self-pity that can begin to set into
Right.
that when that happens. So, really, it becomes a very personal thing to understand, to live with your spouse and understanding what is a long period of time for the one I'm married to. As a giver, I don't wanna push her or him beyond whatever a long period of time is for them, where they really begin to struggle with
Different emotions that
oh,
are
yeah.
not healthy to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Right.
That are gonna create all kinds of problems in the unity
Right.
of our marriage.
Right.
So that's a big, big ask,
Mhm.
is to discover and it takes so how many conversations have we had over the years, babe, where, okay,
I
what
can't even tell
like a
you.
long period of
I
time
can't even tell
was
you.
like 2 days ago, babe, you know?
Yeah.
So, this it demands a lot of open, loving conversation, a lot of praying together, a lot of calling on the Lord for help here. But you do need to discover what a long period of time
And,
is for your spouse.
couples, you have to talk to each other.
Mhm.
If you do not
And we
communicate
okay, how many have we known that almost they
never. They
right,
don't talk about this subject.
no.
Well, they probably don't talk about many
And when
subjects.
they sit with us and we start going here
It
and we start probing around the edges and asking questions, "Have you guys had discussions about X or Y or Z?
yeah.
Do you go" and they look at each other like, "You guys are Martians, man. No, we'd never talk about that."
You are not, as a couple, gonna get anywhere in your sexual life if you cannot talk.
Right.
Um, talk openly, kindly,
Yeah.
wanting to learn,
And listen.
being a learner.
And listen.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
And trying to figure out what's the best for you both,
Right.
b because this doesn't just magically happen. A good marriage nor a good sex life doesn't magically happen.
Right.
It takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of talking. It takes actually, it's fun.
Yeah. Should be.
If you don't go here, you will never have what the Lord has intended you to have and
Yeah.
experience in your sexual life as a couple.
Yeah.
Never. You will not have it.
Well said. Right
Mhm.
on. Okay, babe, that brings us out of time, man.
That sounds good.
So we're gonna have to put a wrap on this one. This was never intended to be in-depth,
No.
but just popping along the top there and trying to understand what Paul's after here in these verses.
It just skims the surface. We know
Yeah.
that there are so many underlying issues that people can have in their sexual life.
Sure.
It's a huge topic.
Yep.
This is just skimming the surface about these verses.
To bring encouragement,
Just to
honestly.
bring encouragement that this is a safeguard for you that God
Right.
has given to you.
Right,
Your sexual, intimate life is
right,
a wonderful thing.
right. So we'll be doing this, probably 1 or 2 more
Mhm.
episodes where we just take a passage that's directly related
Right.
and work through it and try to gain understanding, yeah?
That's great. Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in with us. So glad that you were here. We love you guys. Hope it's helping, hope it's encouraging, and can't wait to be with you next time.
That's right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.